The name of story, room for rent. They said the apartment was perfect, quiet, cheap, fully furnished. Too cheap, actually. But I didn't ask questions. I just moved in. There was only one odd rule, taped to the fridge. Do not open the locked room, ever. I thought it was a joke. The door was at the end of the hall, black, scratched. Something about it felt wrong, like it was holding its breath. Every night I'd hear soft noises from inside, not footsteps, not whispers, like an echo of something I hadn't done yet. I'd place my keys on the table, then hear them being placed again, a second later, behind the door. I'd laugh, then hear laughter. One night, I whispered, "Hello?" And the door whispered back, "Hello?"
Hello?
In my voice. Perfectly. I called the landlord. He answered with a sigh. "It's aware now. Just don't interact." What does that even mean? The next day, my toothbrush was wet before I used it. My shoes were muddy before I went outside. I started locking my bedroom door, but each morning it was wide open, and my bed was slightly warmer, as if someone had just left it. Then I saw it. I caught a glimpse through the keyhole, just for a second. It was me, sitting cross-legged on the floor, smiling, except its eyes were wide open. It didn't blink, didn't move. It just stared straight at the door. I tried to leave that night, but the front door wouldn't open. None of the windows opened. My phone only dialed my own number. And when I answered, I heard myself say, "Finally, you're ready." The black door creaked open on its own, and now I'm in here, in the room, not locked in, not alone, just replaced. So if you ever find an apartment that's too good to be true, don't take it. It's maybe trap. The name of story, Sallie House. A true American horror. The Sallie House, nestled in Atchison, Kansas, is far from just a historic 19th century home. Built in the late 1800s for Dr. Charles Finney, it's both his family residence and rumored medical practice. Inside its brick walls lies a dark secret, a tragic death that once stole the life of a young girl named Sallie, and perhaps never let her go. Legend tells that Sallie, a little girl of 6 or 7, collapsed in agony from a sudden appendicitis. Her desperate mother rushed her to Dr. Finney's home office. In a terrifying haste, he began operating before the anesthesia took effect, thinking he was racing against time. Sallie awoke mid-surgery. Her screams must have echoed through the house. She died in excruciating pain, her last images of terror fixed in her young mind. For decades, life in the house carried on as normal. That changed in 1992, when Tony and Deborah Pickman, a young couple expecting their first child, moved in. At first, the house seemed charming, but subtle oddities soon surfaced. Lights flickering, objects misplaced, and a dog growling at invisible presences upstairs. Then came the nursery. Their baby stuffed animals were found arranged in a perfect circle, then repeatedly disturbed overnight. Doors opened and closed despite being locked. A chilling sense of someone unseen watching lingered in each room. But the paranormal crossed into the physical. Late one night, Tony woke with sharp pain across his chest and back. His wife saw 3 long bleeding scratch marks appear before their eyes, with no explanation. Soon burns appeared on his torso. Tony was shaken. He had been physically attacked. Candles would spontaneously burst into flame, sometimes scorching furniture. Electronics died randomly or blared powerfully on their own. The house seemed alive, with intent. Houses are built to shelter, but here it imprisoned. Desperate, the Pickmans sought help from psychics. A medium identified the spirit, the anguished girl, Sallie. She meant no harm, but she resented men, especially doctors. Something darker seemed to feed off her pain. They fled the house in 1994. Their story aired on shows like Sightings, A Haunting, Ghost Adventures, and Paranormal Witness, earning national infamy for the house. Investigators returned often, recording EVPs, cold spots dropping suddenly 20 degrees, batteries draining instantly, and equipment failing. Some caught distant voices and footsteps pacing the upstairs hall. Many men who entered suffered scratches, some deep enough to bleed. This earned Sallie the unsettling nickname, the man-hating ghost. Some believe that during her final moments, she associated men with torture and death. So she lashes out against male presence to this day. Over the years, others have stayed, braving self-guided or overnight ghost tours. They still report hearing little footsteps racing up and down the stairs, watching unequal shadows flit across rooms, and waking to unwelcome touches. Some toys have been found stacked or moved. Several visitors insist they've heard a child called Sallie whisper. To this day, a waiver is required to tour the house due to its aggressive history. Since 1993, no one has reported serious physical harm, but the house demands caution. It's now a public paranormal attraction, but also a warning. Not all hauntings are benign. So if you ever walk through the front door of 508 North 2nd Street, remember the story of little Sallie. She died in pain, and maybe, in her grief, she destroyed the boundary between life and death. And if that pain remains, the walls remember, and she might welcome you into her restless domain. The name of story, The Room That Whispered.
There is a room in the Pinebrook Mental Institution that no one is assigned to, room 213. It looks ordinary, white walls, a single steel-framed bed, a window that doesn't open, and a camera that never works. Every year, a new staff member asks why it's always locked. They're always told the same thing: plumbing issues. That's a lie. It started in 1973, when patient Eleanor Grace, diagnosed with schizophrenia, was placed in 213. She claimed the room talked to her. Not voices in her head, the room itself. The walls whispered riddles, secrets, promises. At first, the doctors humored her. But then she stopped eating, stopped sleeping, started smiling. She whispered back. 2 weeks later, a nurse found her dead, mouth wide open, her eyes gouged out with her own fingernails. Scratched into the walls were hundreds of words in a language no one recognized. Her voice was recorded saying, "I see now, I'm free." Since then, every patient placed in 213 either died or disappeared. So the door stayed locked until now. October 2nd, 2024. Dr. Lena Rowe, a new clinical psychologist, transferred to Pinebrook after a high-profile trauma case. Driven, skeptical, brilliant, and quietly broken from her own past. She requested room 213 as her office. They told her the plumbing story. She didn't buy it. "I don't believe in ghosts," she said. She should have. The first night she stayed late, unpacking, reviewing patient files. At 2:13 a.m., oddly fitting, her desk lamp flickered. Then, tap, tap, tap. The sound came from the wall behind her. "Pipes," she muttered. Then the whisper came, so soft, it could have been the wind. But the window didn't open. "Lena," she froze. The whisper came again. "You don't believe, yet." Her skin turned cold. That night, she dreamed of Eleanor Grace, her mouth sewn shut, her hands bleeding. She stood in room 213, smiling. Lena woke up gasping. Over the next week, Lena changed. Pale, distracted, she muttered to herself, started writing in her notebook in symbols no one recognized. Her sessions grew darker, asking patients what they feared most, asking if they ever heard walls speak. One patient reported seeing Lena sitting in the corner of the room, whispering into the wall. She was laughing, he said, but her mouth wasn't moving. Security reviewed the camera footage. The screen was static. Then, briefly, Lena, standing perfectly still, staring at the lens. Her eyes were completely black. Day 13. They broke into room 213 after she didn't report for 3 days. There was no sign of her, just her notebook. The room doesn't whisper anymore. Now it listens. The walls were wet with something red. There were scratch marks, deep ones, on the inside of the door, as if someone had been trying to stay in. No one uses room 213 anymore. Not because of plumbing, not because of Eleanor, because sometimes, late at night, the door unlocks by itself. And if you listen closely, you can hear breathing. But there's no one inside.